So I know in my last video I talked about how 0.5 is going to be Ritual League. In all honesty, I was very biased in that take because I know I personally like Ritual the most, and I'm going to be playing a lot of that next league. But in regards to probably what will be the most currency generating league or meta league, I do think this is going to be really, really, really good for Delirium for all sorts of reasons. So let's just get into that. Is this going to be the meta? Yes, I think it's going to be the meta. So first, let's talk about the jewels. Before the Delirium, the distilled in motions were mostly just for, changing some effects on the map and distilling or instilling passives onto your jewels. Not your jewels, your amulets. This time around, we'll actually be able to deliberately craft on jewels. This is pretty huge. By the end of 0.4, adorned diamonds, unidentified, are going for 3 mirrors. Obviously, it's end of league, so prices are always a little ridiculous, but that just kind of goes to show that jewels and buffing them up in your build was extremely overpowered. And now that we're able to deliberately craft a jewel to have specific modifiers that we want, obviously we don't know what all the modifiers are, if these modifiers are potentially weaker than what they can naturally roll. I don't know yet. We'll be getting patch notes as of today, so we'll find out. But in terms of just speculation, it does sound like jewels are still going to be very strong, especially now that we can craft them to have the specific modifiers we want on them. And then what I thought was crazy was that we can actually start crafting on timeless jewels. That's huge. They were always pretty expensive just because to get the right rolls on them, it's super luck based, but now we can craft on them. This might bring down the overall value of timeless jewels because now we can just kind of pick them. But this does, I think, overall gives them more stock, if you will, in player builds. Now that we can again take advantage of crafting them, and most of them were kind of shitter anyways, so it's going to be pretty good for us to be able to, once again, like I said, deliberately craft on them and be able to make them exactly as we want them to be. And then it does sound like, from the reveal itself, again, I don't know to what extent this goes to, but it sounds like there's going to be some unique instills that we can get out of what looks to be like a specific area where we can instill them, based off of what Jonathan said, that there are unique passives that we can get that we can't get anywhere in the passive tree. So once again, a whole new way of getting potentially super strong buffs on our gear that only comes from Delirium. And this is kind of leading into what I think is going to be the reason why this is going to be one of the more powerful league mechanics, is that in Path of Exile 1, you get voices from Simulacrum in the Delirium mechanic. They did not specify exactly where this voices comes from, but if we can again speculate, there's a good chance it's going to come out of probably the Uber in Delirium now. It's between 1 and 4 jewel sockets, and those go into right next to your tree, your Atlas tree. So I believe there's about, I could be wrong, like 16 or 12 jewel sockets right now in your tree for Path of Exile 2. Having an additional 4, I mean, that's just a big power boost, especially if we're working with the Adorned. Now, in 0.4, they added the ability to, double corrupt, essentially, certain uniques. And now, with the Adorned, you can get between 0 and 150 increased effective jewel sockets, passive skills containing corrupted magic jewels. But if you double corrupt it, it will turn this line into an increased effect jewel socket passes for rare jewels, basically, from magic to rare. Now, obviously, though, if you get a high roll of 75 and you have, let's say, 16 jewels in your character, thanks to voices, this was already ridiculously expensive and very high valued. I mean, it's only going to go up. And the other important thing that I think we need to talk about is the, actually have it in the front, my bad. This thing, the Twisted Amulet. You can only get this amulet from going into this realm, something about a twisted mind or whatever, in Delirium. It will allocate 2 random passives from your from the tree onto your amulet. My guess is that this is going to be a pairing that is totally random. So certain builds will, like for example, the build that really needs Holy Protector and Infusing Power, this is going to be a really lucrative drop for people who are making those builds. Now, I can only imagine all the different builds. I mean, this amulet is going to become best in slot more than anything because you can still craft on this thing. Now, whether or not you can still instill another passive onto here, to be determined. But just being able to craft on an amulet that already has 2 passives on them, I don't see a world where this will not be best in slot for probably every single build. I don't see that by the end of the league, unless just some crazy, crazy, crazy amulet, or something super specific for a very niche build, I don't see where this is not going to become the standard for every single build. I'm pretty confident that in PoE Ninja, it's going to be, in terms of the amulet slot, this is going to probably take about 98% of, it's going to be a rare jewel, because everyone's going to be wanting these, and we'll be crafting on them to get the perfect amulet that will just become best in slot for just about everybody in every single build, I think. So when you combine these 3 things, I mean, you're getting an insane power boost to your build. And I believe this is going to be for every single build. There's no reason why you wouldn't want a Voices and Adorned and a Twisted Amulet on your build. There's going to be no reason to not have it in terms of just getting an insane amount of power. This is a pretty short one. Patch notes are going to be coming out. So overall, I just do think Delirium is going to be just uber stonks this league. I'll be shocked if Fubgun and all of them don't, just immediately run Delirium League for most of the first maybe week or 2 of the league. Who knows? It could probably keep going and going if people are going to be constantly chasing after just the perfect double roll on these Twisted Amulets and then crafting them and hoping you get good rolls after that. I mean, this is going to be probably the biggest chase item, I think, this league. So yeah, that's why I think this is likely going to be a Delirium League. And yeah, it's going to be cool. Can't wait.